Loading. Welcome to Access the Animus.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new video here on Access the Animus. Today we're going to show you all the main features of the new River Raids game mode that was made available yesterday through the new update 1.1.2 for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. In the video, we're going to discuss Vagn, the new main character that will join your settlement permanently, the new Jomsviking Hall and Docks buildings that will allow you to embark on your new adventure into 3 completely new areas of England, and especially, we're going to show you how the River Raids mode works, from choosing your route to picking your raid location, fighting along with the Jomsvikings, and so on. Of course, we're also going to have a general look at all the rewards that the River Raids have to offer, ranging from the minor ones like rations and resources, to the bigger ones like runes, skills, abilities and gear, several cosmetic customization, and of course the new St. George armor set. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it, subscribing to our channel and turning the notifications on so you won't miss any of our future updates. And with that out of the way, let's have a look at all the main new features coming from the River Raids update for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So, update 1.1.2 is finally out, and as we all know, its main feature is the River Raids. That is a permanent new game mode that allows Eivor to reach new and unexplored regions of England in order to partake in new raids along with a whole new crew of Jomsvikings. In order to get to that though, we first have to meet a new character called Vagn and his crew. Talking to him will allow you to create 2 new buildings, the Jomsviking Hall, which will allow you to recruit the Jomsvikings you need to embark on the river raids, and the new docks, from which you'll be able to start the raid themselves. More specifically, the Jomsviking Hall can be built after the River Raids tutorial, which will have you test this new kind of raids and obtain a new resource called foreign cargo, more on this later, through which you will be able to build the Jomsviking Hall. This new building, which will be upgradable within the light narrative supporting the mode, will attract other Jomsvikings to the hall, allowing players to choose which Jomsvikings are going to join them in this new kind of raids. These Jomsvikings, which will have different levels and experience, can be customized by interacting with Vagn before starting the raids, and as mentioned earlier, you can select the Jomsvikings you want to take with you, the most veteran of which, if they have participated in a few raids, will earn a loyalty bonus. The Jomsvikings will also have rations tied to them, so along with their level of loyalty, players will also have to take into account their rations before starting the raids. Moreover, the Jomsvikings holding a loyalty bonus will obtain a combat boost with each level/rank they've earned, and will be able to carry more rations, which will cause them to survive longer in the raids and thus allow players to obtain more loot while at it. Another new element brought by Vagn is a new Longship that is exclusive to the River Raids. Like the standard one from the main game, this ship is customizable too, with dedicated cosmetics that can be purchased from Vagn, as we'll see later. Within the new docks, players will find the so-called Vagn's map, which they will have to interact with in order to see the available routes/rivers in England that can be raided, with various levels of difficulty and loot. Each route will have a dedicated and completely new map, meaning we'll get to explore new areas in England, and these territories will contain several locations to raid. At the moment, there are currently 3 routes to take on: the River Dee, the River Severn and the River Exe. Each route will showcase its level of difficulty, the number of successful raids that took place in it, the number of obtainable gear, weapons and books of knowledge in it, and the number of river map clues. That sounds a lot already in itself, but it's been already announced that more routes will be made available in the future. Once you choose your route, you can finally arrive in the new map, follow the river and decide which locations to raid, be it a settlement, a monastery or a military camp. Within the river raids, fights will get tougher as you progress, as enemies will gather up in order to hold Eivor off. Moreover, each raided location will alert local forces, increasing their presence and resistance also in the other locations further down the river routes, and even, it seems, in your next visits of the same route. The kicker to the game mode is that there is an element of risk, as enemies get tougher and tougher as you move through the route and raid more locations, but if Eivor dies, all the progress and rewards will be lost. So players will have to choose whether to stop and decide to return to their settlement by hitting a new dedicated icon from the activity wheel, or proceed in their quest to obtain more loot. Also, when the Jomsvikings fall in battle, they will have a timer until which you can revive them, as you already do in the main game. After that, they will be permanently dead for the duration of the river raid, so it will be important to keep them alive, both keeping their rations in check and reviving them should they fall, in order to progress down the routes and to obtain more rewards. But if you can't make it in time to save them, if the Jomsvikings actually die in the raids, they will become available once again when the player goes back to Ravensthorpe, so at least you won't lose them forever. As mentioned pretty much everywhere in the promotional material for the river raids, players will also find several kinds of rewards in the raids. For starters, players will find breakables in the raids locations containing rations and resources, and this will be more important than it sounds, not only because the rations will allow you to keep going in the raids, but also because in the breakables players might find the resources from the main game, which are pretty difficult to find once you've cleared the map, and now will be continuously available through this new kind of raids. The river raids, just like their standard counterpart for the main game, will feature doors and especially chests that need to be forced in order to get the loot, meaning that, whether you like it or not, you will have to trigger the raid in order to open the chest, so don't expect to be able to use stealth all the way through the raids, but maybe you'll be able to use it in the early phases? Nonetheless, the chest will contain different kinds of runes, supplies, books of knowledge, and more. Along with this, players will be able to find 6 new skills and additional nodes for the skill tree and 3 new abilities, which will actually have to be acquired through the river raids. Among the 6 skills we can find Assassin Carry, which allows Eivor to automatically carry a body after a successful assassination, Assassin Slide, which allows Eivor to slide into enemies and knock them off balance, Power Stroke, which triggers a speed boost for the Longship, Arrow Looter, which grants Eivor a better chance at obtaining arrows from archers, Fight Ready, which allows to start a fight with an adrenaline-filled slot, and Longship Brace, which will have the crew of your longship lift their shields if you tell them to brace. At the same time, the river raids will allow to gain 3 new abilities called Berserker Trap, which allows to shoot hallucinatory traps through arrows, Battle Cry, which has Eivor screaming, scaring her enemies and interrupting their attacks, and Shoulder Bash, which allows to push back enemies and destroy objects in Eivor's path. Lastly, raids will also allow to obtain a new kind of resource called Foreign Cargo, which can be used for several purposes. As we mentioned earlier, it can be used to build and then upgrade the Jomsviking Hall, which will allow players to find Jomsvikings with a higher level for tougher raids. In addition, it can also be used to upgrade the river raid's Longship, and more specifically its cargo hold, which will allow players to bring back more foreign supplies from each river raid. Furthermore, players will be able to use the foreign cargo to unlock new customization options for the river raid's Longship and many other cosmetic elements like tattoos by trading this resource directly with Vagn. And lastly, players will be able to also hunt for the pieces of the St. George Legendary Armor set, a new equipment set that is available only with the recent update and whose pieces can be found in the various river raids maps. And that's it for the general and main features introduced with the River Raids game mode for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Have you tried it yet? Do you think it's interesting enough to play it consistently? Which are your most and least favorite features of this new game mode? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.